Gonzalo Fernandez he's a husband, he's a father, he's an entrepreneur, and I think he's got an interesting story. I love entrepreneurial stories, and because of what I do, I also like to hear about fatherhood and being a husband and self-work, and I think you've done quite a bit of that. You've got some interesting journeys, not just in entrepreneurship, which I know our listeners appreciate, but in life. Welcome, Gonzalo. How you doing?
Thank you, Joel. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about you are a magnate in the marina world, right?
Yes.
What type of businesses do you own in that space?
Well, we go from the detailing part, which is, I'm going to start from the little part per se.
Cleaning those
yes,
yachts.
That's how we started, actually. And we also have a maintenance company, management company. We have 3 marinas, and we opened a brokerage company a year ago.
That brokerage company's in that space?
Yes, correct.
So what are you brokering, slips or boats?
No, yachts.
Yes. So you broker the yachts?
Yes, correct. So if let's say that you are a boat owner or yacht owner, and you want to sell your yacht, we can market in the marketplace.
And it's perfect because all of this is vertical.
Correct.
One leads to the other, leads to the other. Which was the very first one? It was cleaning boats?
Yes, I started back in 2011. I started cleaning boats. It was a small little company that we purchased. I said we, but it's always with me. But I like to speak as a we. And we purchased back in 2011, like I said, and it was pretty much 3 services: washing, polishing, and interior cleaning.
So a lot of people would be very proud and happy to have a business cleaning boats.
Yes.
You went from that to another business?
Correct.
What was the next one?
The next one was maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was management, marinas, and lately brokerage.
And now, do you own marinas?
Yes.
You actually own. How do you buy a marina? How'd that happen? You were this this guy cleaning boats. How'd you end up buying your first marina?
Taking the chance, pretty much I was looking for a place because most of my clients they were in the Miami Beach area, and in hurricane season, you need to have a contingency plan for hurricanes. So
get the boat out of here.
There you go. Thank you. So in that way, I was looking for locations where to move my boats, my clients' boats, but I call them mine.
Yeah.
To move my boats into a safer location, what they call it hurricanes heaven, in a sense. And through that, there was an opportunity that a guy said, hey, why don't you rent the marina and you operate the marina? And I came back to him with, I will do it if you sell it to me. And I had no money at that moment, but, I just took a chance. And the guy was 77. He said, I'm about to retire. What better to do it to you? And we start working. And one of the things that I always speak about that is because I guess that I speak about the code, in a sense, the principle for business, the minute that he said he will do it and I have that opportunity, I went back to the marina owner of the place where I used to clean boats and maintain boats. And his name is Mr. Christophe, Mr. C. That's how we call it. We call him. And I said, Mr. Christophe, can I speak with you? And he said, come over. We spoke. And he goes like, so what's up? And I go, well, this is just happened. I have this conversation. I don't buy the hands that fit me. You are the marina guy. I am the maintenance guy. So pretty much I'm bringing this opportunity to you. Now, if you don't want to take it, I would love to have your blessings to go for it. So that was a Thursday at 2 p.m. And he says, okay, just come over on Saturday. We'll go and see it together. Cool beans. I go pick him up, go back to see the marina, and pretty much he coached me on my way back to drop him off on how to secure and negotiate the marina. But at the same time, I was like, so are you sure? Because pretty much you telling me what to do, but You are the marina guy.
And you're going to become a competitor.
Sort of. And he goes, Gonzalo, you are family to us. This is the natural, his word were, this is the natural way for your growth. You go and take it.
Wow.
And within 36 months, with actually 42 months, we became the largest marine operator, sleep number wise, in Miami Beach. And I'm in the Miami River, I'm sorry. And I'm on the fourth largest company in Miami.
Wow. And then COVID hit. And what happened to the demand for marinas? Because all the money started coming to Miami. Everybody started buying boats, right?
Yes, I always say that, timing is a great thing. You have to be lucky also. We were right in the right spot at the right moment because the COVID hurt a lot of industry, but it helped exponentially to the marine industry.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was that was the perfect scenario for you to be, per se, you have an outing, and at the same time you are safe by going out in your boat. So everybody started, because they couldn't spend their money into going to the movies or going to the bowling alley or any of those experiences. They either start going and buying bigger houses, or they went into yacht and boat because that was a safe outing experience for them and their families.
And you're also positioned properly because you're in Miami, and so much wealth poured into Florida during COVID. We were open while other places weren't. I mean, I saw it. I've been to parties where I was the only one who's been here for decades, and everybody else was successful entrepreneurs who poured in, and they were buying those boats and needing the slips, right?
Yes.
So those prices had to have come up, the rents.
Yes.
Amazing.
So when we started 2019, the price per foot, I'll give you an example, it was about $25 a foot to store a yacht. Now it's $55, $65.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing business. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than smart and have good timing, but you did some smart things. So interesting that with Mr. C, there was that very honorable arrangement that you made sure to keep that, and you must have a great relationship with them.
I do because they sold everything and they moved to Connecticut. They ended up opening like an $800 million marina.
Wow.
And they called me about 6 months that they are thinking in coming back. And I was like, well, I hope you don't think of me as a competition, and they go, Gonzalo, you will always be family to us. As a matter of fact, the reason that we're calling you is because you and I were doing business together. And I don't know if I'm going to clean their boats or operate their marinas, but I'm in it, I'm in it,
So what do you say, I have so many questions, but the speed that you acted on to go see that marina when it was available. But first of all, you called a stranger who owned that marina? Was he a stranger? The original, or the owner where you bought?
No. I knew him, but yes, I didn't do much business with him, but I don't know. Again,
but you had a conversation, and that led to the next thing and the next thing. It reminds me, and it's a proud moment for me. My son is 19. He works at a dealership as like a technician, but he's a reservist with the Army for over a year now as a diesel mechanic, and he's learning. He's training with them. And the other day, he went to have a look at a diesel generator at my cousin's house. And as he's trying to do some things, he realizes he needs a part. And he sees a phone number there. And he calls. And he speaks to the owner. And he says, hey, I'm looking for this part. And he goes, yeah, we can get that for you. But then my son, who has no shame, says, by the way, are you looking for mechanics, diesel mechanics? Because I've been trained by the Army. I'm still learning. I'm only 19, but I work as a technician. I only make $15 an hour. And the guy says, well, we start our technicians, our diesel mechanics at 28. Wow. And he says, but you're not there yet. How about 24? So he just got a letter, offer letter. He's starting there next week. Just by having, I'm so proud of him, by having a conversation and not being scared. It's not about filling out a resume and turning it in. It's about trying to get a hold of the owner, right? Try these things, have the conversations. So the speed you acted with was great. Now, anybody who hears this might say, well, there's something about him. There's maybe his parents helped him out. You were cleaning boats. Tell us, now let's go backwards. Talk about your childhood.
Well, I work since I am 5 years old. You know, I always helped my dad. My dad had a lot of businesses, always opening the new opportunity. Something that I give to my dad is the work ethic, um, and always going and trying and giving it a try. You know, um, and I got that from him. You know, my work ethic is really high because he always treat me as an adult. So the expectation of me was like an adult, right? So I grew up just working, and that's pretty much all I know.
What type of stuff were you doing as a kid?
Customer service, delivering, what else? Going and trying to get paid, knocking on doors and say, hey, you owe me money. It's like, and I was 14 years old, but nevertheless, it's like we need to get paid.
What type of businesses was your dad doing?
He did a little bit of everything, from electrodomestics.
Mm-hmm. So appliances.
Appliances, thank you. Appliances and clothes, furniture, a little bit of everything.
And that's all in Argentina?
Oh, yes. I'm from the second smallest province or state in Argentina. It's called Tucumán. I grew up there. I always say that I was born and raised in Argentina, mature in the United States.
Yeah. At what age did you leave Argentina?
21.
21. What brought you here to the U.S.?
Funny thing is, I wanted to be a valet parking.
You to become a valet parker?
I love cars.
Uh-huh.
It's one of my passions. And by the age of 16, I heard the story of the best friend of my aunt. She was doing valet parking here. And by doing valet parking, she was driving a Toyota Corolla. And I was like, screw it. Like, when I'm 21, I'm going there and I'm going to be a valet parking. So that was the trigger for me to come to Miami per se, and be a valet parking, because that will be my excuse. That will be the way in to drive every possible car. So
simple dreams.
Yes. And when I came here with no English and $600. That's the truth.
Were your parents backing you up financially?
No. As a matter of fact, I came here again with $600, and by day 30th, I was sending back to them $700 because they need the money. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to support my family, for most of my part. And, and again, it's just, I don't know, this is what you do.
Wow. And okay, how long did you valet cars?
I did that for about 5 years.
Wow. Were you doing anything else on the side?
Well, I tried different other venues. I always wanted to be my own, I always dreamed to have my own business. So I tried real estate. I tried mobile car wash.
On your own?
Yes. I for one season, for one summer, I went to New York and I was a tourist guide, showing around people from Europe, mostly Spanish people. So I didn't need the English, and I can do it in Spanish, And I went on a Sunday with the Michelin guidebook, and by next Sunday I was a tourist guy.
You were the expert. Well, you could tell them the wrong thing; they might not know the difference. All right. So, but interesting. Were you valet parking and then also trying the mobile car wash? Is this at the same time?
No. In that moment, I was just doing that, and I was 22 to 27, trying to figure out my way in the United States. Honestly, trying to see.
What's the last job you had where you worked for somebody?
Credit card processing company. I was a retention supervisor, and pretty much the idea was if you call to cancel your account, we'll try to find out what's the reason and educate you so we can retain that client and avoid the cancellation. That's pretty much. And I was the supervisor. I worked there for 3 years pretty much until one day this opportunity for purchasing the boat cleaning company came along, and I took a bond.
Did that seem like a big risk, buying a boat cleaning business at the time?
Yes. Sometimes, you are paying more than you should, but because you feel like it's the only way to go into it. And I put myself in situations like that many times over, because I felt like, it's expensive, but it's the only way that I know of. And if I have to take it, sort of.
How come the guy, and it could be him or it could be someone similar, the guy who owns a boat cleaning business, what's the difference between him staying there and doing that for the rest of his life, or what you did and go into the maintenance and up to owning multiple marinas?
I will say permission to dream, allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to be the guy who can do more than just a boat cleaner per se. I have a lot of, I never called in competition because I thought of myself that I was doing something different, and I was always pioneering the industry within my market. But many guys, they try to be the best detailer, and they can beat me at detailing a boat. But I was working on being the businessman, of being the business owner. And that is where I believe that the intention, they were different, the purpose behind. The cleaning boats was the way in with something bigger. For them, it was the ultimate. Yes.
That's good. So did you not get caught up in the weeds? Some business owners, they just get caught in and they're stuck in it. Did you step back and see the overall big picture? Did that help you see what's next?
That, and also, running around guys, they are like the proximity to other perspective, and that is running in groups. I joined in 2014 because I did it all on debt. I didn't have money, so it was
credit cards, or
it was a loan from my brother-in-law, and then for a part, and then the rest it was owner finance, seller finance. So it was pretty much all on debt. Mm-hmm. At one moment, I remember walking my dog with my wife. That was a ritual that we used to have every day from me after coming from the marina, and at the beginning, it was very hard. I worked 12 hours, 6 days a week. Some days I used to drive to the marina in the morning crying, thinking, what have I done? And within 9 months, then is when I started seeing a little bit of money. But at the beginning, it was just, paying the car and, and fueling. And fuel, that's it. But within 3 years, I pay off everybody, and I start seeing a little bit of money. And one of my traits as a human being is that I'm a very grateful person. However, I saw myself not being so grateful. Now I see a little bit of money, and yet there is something missing. So I start working on myself, if you will. That was November 2014. I started working with a coach. Her name is Monica. She gave me two biggest gifts. It was one is to hug myself, and it's like it is okay. You're doing okay. And the other one, it was the daily meditation. And so I started working in towards that, and I started seeing things from a different perspective, in a sense.
That's good. As a kid, were you doing things differently? Because you said that when you were, maybe not competitors, but with the other people doing what you did, you were doing things differently. Were you different as a kid?
Yes. Yes. A couple of years ago, I read about this the psychology test that a guy did on how to delay rewarding yourself, and
So delayed gratification.
yes, thank you. And I have a memory of one time we went to this town, and I always like hats, and there was a cowboy hat, and I really wanted. And my dad was like, I don't have money, and I said, okay, I will skip the meal on the restaurant if you buy me the hat, and I won't eat. But, so I was willing to do stuff that maybe other kids wouldn't. And I'm telling you, this is about 8 years old.
And you're willing to starve.
And I was just finding a way, being creative about, okay, how can I get this in exchange of that if I put in the work, and then one of my, always say that a beautiful gift that my father did is that we celebrate Dia del Niño. It's called like the Kids Day. And for Kids Day, I wanted a pair of shoes. My father just closed a business, and he said, listen, I don't have a pair of shoes. I cannot buy you a pair of shoes, but I can give you some soccer balls that you can convert them into a pair of shoes. And I was 11, so I didn't understand the concept at the beginning. When he said it in that way, I said, how come? And he said, well, you can sell it, and by the money that you collect, you can buy yourself. And that actually was one of my biggest triggers as an entrepreneur per se.
What a gift.
He taught me how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that. He taught me how to fish right there, And from there, it was like it's game on.
The worst thing I think we could do for our kids is to just give them everything. Because if your dad would have bought you those shoes, then you would have wanted the next thing and the next thing. But he gave you an opportunity with a couple of soccer balls and said, go sell them.
It's one of my, I will say, biggest question with myself, and a recurrent theme with my wife is now I am in a different position in my life.
Sure.
I compared to where I'm coming from, I have a spectacular life, honestly. I'm very fortunate. How do I create the same hunger in my daughter? She's 4. How do I provide, without robbing her, the experience of wanting and going for things in her life? Either, material things or experiences of, hey, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a vet, or whatever it is that she wants to do, right? It's like, how can I instill the same fire in her to go and work for things on her own? Because there is nothing more beautiful than the pride. When you come and you see the home and you have a hot plate of food, that you earn it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And, so it's believe me, it's one of my biggest questions.
Well, the good thing is you have a 4-year-old.
Yes.
I've got a 19, 17, 12,
so maybe
and 11.
You give me a couple of tips.
I'll tell you one right now. So when my son, Ryan, the one who's a soldier now, he's 19. When he was 5 years old, we were sitting at dinner, and he was sitting across from me on the table. And back then we only had 2 kids, my wife and I. Now we have 4. He says, because I told him so many stories of when I was a kid, and he says, Dad, I want to make money like you did when you were a kid. And I said, perfect. You know how I made it? One of the early businesses I had, I sold chocolates, and I made a lot of money. And I could live from that. Because as a kid, I paid a lot of my own expenses once teenager. So he said, how do we do it? And that night after dinner, we went to a local food store that sells to stores. But you could go anywhere. You can go to Costco. You can go to regular grocery store if you have to. But if you want to get a little bit, few cents off per bar, we went and got a box of wholesale chocolates. And we maybe about 2 or 3. But I said, I'll give you the money for the first one, but you have to pay me back when you make money. So maybe a box was $40. But with tips and everything, he came out with like $100 really quickly in like a day or 2. And I said, okay, pay me the 40. You now have $60. What do you want to do? You can go spend it, or you could keep doing this. And the way we did it early on was he'd go door to door in our neighborhood, and I'd stand way back. I wasn't talking for him. He did all the talking. I stood on the sidewalk. I told him what to say initially, but he evolved it from there. And we would go door to door. And the beauty is that he got a lot of rejection. And I love that. I want my kids to suffer under a controlled environment. I want them to get rejection. And I want things to not go their way early on. Because now that same kid has asked girls out on dates and they say no, and he doesn't care. And that same kid applies for a job. He doesn't get it, and he'll go again and talk to the owner, and over and over and over until he gets what he's trying to get. Or he realizes it didn't work out, but I tried. And then when he earns something, he has that, right? When my son was 18 years old, he was a senior in high school. He had $30,000 in the bank. I haven't given him a dollar ever.
Wow, man.
He pays everything on his own. And he bought his first car. And he called me from the dealership. I was leaving jiu-jitsu training on a Sunday. And he says, hey, are you done with jiu-jitsu? I'm at the dealer. Can you come here? There's a car I like. And I drove there. And he says, so I already test rode it. Can you test drive it too? And I did. And he says, it's used. It's like an 8-year-old car. It's $15,000. It's half my money. I'm thinking of doing it. What do you think? And I said, yeah, it's a good car. Do it. He buys the car, and and as he's signing papers, I go, you have to get insurance. And he says, oh, no, I already called USAA, the military one, because he'd already finished boot camp. Even though he's a senior in high school, he did it in between junior and senior year. He went away for 2 months. And he says, I've already gotten the insurance. I've called them. And so he finishes signing the paper. We take some pictures, and he gives me the biggest hug and thanks me like 10 times. And I said, Ryan, I didn't do anything. You saved up this money since you were 5. And he goes, no, but you taught me everything. So that for me confirmed a lot of the things. And as I look down the 4 kids, we're still doing the same thing. They all sell chocolates. In my house at any time, there's a pallet of chocolate bars that they buy wholesale, and they all do it. So I always recommend that to kids, to parents, and it's been phenomenal in our family, and it's instilled a lot of the good values.
How beautiful of him that to call you on his first car and to make you drive and ask for your opinion. That shows the trust that he has in you. That you earn it, right? As a father, you have to earn it. It's a 2 ways, right? It's
sure.
Of the relationship, depending on where you sit. And to have that special moment for him to call you and to say, hey, I want you to test drive it. I want you to give me your opinion on this. For you as a father, what a moment of pride.
I had a coaching client from Pennsylvania who was down here. He went with me to jiu-jitsu that day, and we showered up and we were going home. That's when my son called me, and he got to see the whole thing. He's not a father yet. And I remember I did feel proud that he called me, because if he would have just showed up and, I just did this. Okay, great. Good for you. I'd be proud.
Of course.
But I did feel so included.
Of course. That's what I mean. It's just that to have that trust, and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah. And then about 6 months later, it happened with his younger brother. The exact same thing, exact same. He saved up all this money from chocolates and all these things. All right, so let's talk about your journeys, both physically, because you've done something pretty cool, traveling all the way to South America on a motorcycle. But before that, let's talk about your spirituality and the path you've gone down and the things you've done.
Sure. I don't know how do you want me to start? I'm sorry.
What got you into that? This search for whatever you're looking for?
Yes. Well, Rumi says that what you seek is seeking you.
What you seek is seeking you.
Mm-hmm. There is a beautiful saying, right? It's a Rumi. I always been an inner seeker in a sense. I have worked many stuff. At the beginning, it was not psychiatrist, but psychologist. Mm-hmm. So, and we all do respect. From the work that I have done now, I believe it is my experience, right? Mm-hmm. That you just scratching the surface. So, but it helped me. At that moment, is what I needed and it's what I knew. And after that, I started working with, I did Ho'oponopono, which is a belief of nothing happens to you, but it happens for you. And also, nobody wake up when you're driving your car, nobody wake up and say, I'm going to throw the car at Gonzalo's. This is the way that people drive. I happen to be in the way. That's it, right? When you understand that, you don't take as many things as personal. It's the way they operate. You just happen to be in the way. That's all it is, So it's about forgiving yourself, mostly of the expectation that you have with other people. I did Reiki, which is like an energy work and how you transfer that energy and how you protect your energy. And I done, you know, regression through hypnosis to understand what was the soul contract that you have and why do you come to this planet or to this to Earth, why you were born. What else? Family constellation, which is, you know, there is some karmatic stuff that you bring from your ancestors, and as you heal them and you understand that it's their thing, not your thing, you can start healing, right? And then ultimately I went into ayahuasca and mushroom ceremonies, honestly.
Do you do that still?
Yes. Yeah,
What's that experience for you? Ayahuasca, mushrooms. What happens? You're in a trance. You're out for a few hours. You're exploring inside. What happens?
Well, I always say that it's a trip it's an inward trip. So you go inward. You go inside. You know, the scientific explanation of ayahuasca is that it has something that it has a when we dream, we segregate DMT from the glandular
Somewhere in the brain.
yes, a pineal gland.
Okay.
And the ayahuasca plant, it has a concentrated DMT, so it is easier. But pretty much you go and you take a nap, and when you dream, you connect with your soul. That's the understanding of it, or the explanation of it. So when you do that, you start seeing the medicine. It shows you a lot of stuff that it maybe happened in your life, and then you start understanding why it happened, or you heal from it, or you have visions, or you have, you know, I use a lot of this, and it has helped me in my. The more I am aligned with myself, the better decision I make in business per se.
And this has helped you in personal and in business?
Yes.
Does it ever go wrong? Does this like DMT trip, does it ever bring up horrible, fearful things that you can't work through?
Only one time for me, and it was because I did something that is a no-no, but 3 days before I watched John Wick. So it was a very dark movie, right? And then 3 days later, I'm into ayahuasca, and it just woke up like a dark part of myself, or it was like I was connecting to John Wick, I guess.
Some
I don't
scary
know.
stuff.
So yes, it was like man, I want to kill everybody, but you know, it's just the thought of it, and we start speaking with my shaman, and it was like you're not like this, because I'm mostly like a very loving guy. I will hug you from the get-go. I love you from the get-go. It's just like one of the things I'm doing MMA. And one of my reasons to go into MMA is because I cannot come myself to hit someone. So, you know, but I have a daughter and I have a wife, so I have to be ready to defend her or them in if there is an event. And I just love humanity. So for me, it's just very hard. So the guy was like, Gonzalo, so we start looking into it, and it was like, well, I went to the movie on Tuesday and said, oh, what do you watch? John Wick. Oh, man, that's why, you know.
You got yourself.
But other than that, honestly, is they're being just, you know, the medicine can be brutal in the sense that it will show you stuff that you have to work on it, because nothing changes unless you change. Correct? So you have to be ready to go through those changes. Otherwise, everything will stay the same.
But it brings things to your attention. You're aware.
Correct. Yes.
And now you got to go do the work.
Yes.
All right. You said MMA. Let's talk about that. How long have you been training?
A couple of months. Yes,
I
have a coach that comes. I built a gym in my marina. It's like a 1,200 square foot of gym. It's a beautiful one. Yes, you should come and train.
Yeah.
And then I have he's a pro fighter. His name is Richard Mayol. And he comes Wednesdays and Saturdays, and we train together, you know. And other than that, I just go into, I weight lift and that kind of stuff.
And what do you, so you're working on stand-up striking and takedowns
Yes.
and on the ground
Yes.
too?
Yes. And we do boxing. At the end, we have like a 10 minutes of like a hard boxing, sparring, that kind of stuff.
At that point, you're putting 16
Yes.
ounce gloves on?
Yes.
Do you guys hit each other with the MMA gloves?
I'll just a little bit. He is very kind with me, you know.
Yeah.
He can hit me really hard, so he's kind with me. But it's more like honestly, for me, it's just another way of being active and doing something. You know, I try to do something. I have a cold plunge in my house. I'm getting a sauna, so I'm always trying to get into something. You know.
How old are you?
45.
And where are you today in business as far as your activity? How busy are you? I know you have a COO.
Yes.
I got to meet Pedro the other day.
Thank you.
And you guys are very close.
Yes,
each other's
we are.
godfather of each other's kids, right?
Yes, we are.
Very cool. So having a chief of staff, a COO, someone like that, does that allow you to step out of day-to-day activity, or are you very present in the day-to-day?
No. In a very simplistic way for me to describe what I'm doing is I am a coach to my team and I am a consultant of my own business. So I will go, we will have like a monthly meeting. They will show me the numbers. We'll see where we want to be, in terms of goals. Well, this is the things that it need to change, and then off I go.
How did you motivate them to do that without you? Because I have that issue with, and by the way, I was the same way. The last 10 years before I sold my company, I was not in the day-to-day. I would go there once a week, take people to lunch. I would have a finance meeting once a month, which was like 20 minutes. And that's it. I didn't want to be in the day-to-day. I didn't want a job. I wanted to be a business owner. So I love what you're doing. How do you motivate the people to keep moving forward in the direction that you want them to, but without you being there?
Well, let me make a comment that I love to go to my marina. That is my playground. So I'm present when I am in town, because I get to travel a lot also. But when I am in town, you will find me either on my marina or in my house. And during the day, mostly it's going to be in the marina. So I am per se on demand. If they need to pick a brain or they need to talk about maybe their life, my doors are always open. It's like, hey, Gonzalo, I have a situation with my wife. Come over. Just, I will be a sounding board. That's all I will be, But I will say that I'm empowering them. If you show the vision to the people, to your team, and you make them part of that vision, and you empower them, so they can also take decisions upon them, and having a clear understanding that you will pay for their education, and you know that in business, education means money. So sometimes they're going to make decisions that it will cost money. And as long as there is a lesson in it, I'm willing to pay for that education. I always say the first time, is a lesson. The second time is a decision. So as long as we are aware of those things, and we can do it. And the other thing is that, we have processes, and as long, again, I don't like to be in your neck. I don't like to micromanage people. Otherwise, I feel like, why do I have you in my team? Yeah. Like, if I have to be on top of you,
you do it.
Let me do it. You know, and so for me, it's just empowering them, let them be part of that vision, let them be part, and let them know exactly where the company is going. Because at the beginning, when you're small, it's about I. And then you change about we. And as you keep growing, it's about them. So as long as you help them to grow and you make them part of their growth, because if I lose, it's my money, but if we win, it's our money. So I split the money also.
Good. That's a good incentive. Did you ever dream, do you stop occasionally and think, I never dreamt that my life would be this way? When you're valet parking cars for years, did you imagine that this was potential, or was it half of this, or are you not there yet? What were you dreaming at that time?
I always dream big. They say that the dream is free. The hustle to achieve it is sold separately. Don't ask me how. I always knew I would have money. I have a old memory. I was 16 years old, and I used to ask my friend, his name is Herman, and I used to ask him, hey, when we grow up, if money ever changed me, hit me in my face. That will be my mantra in a sense, you know? So somehow I always knew that I would have money when I grew up. I didn't know which was going to be the way, the path.
As a little kid, did you dream maybe it'd be through football or sport?
No, I have an old memory, me and my memories, right? Mm-hmm. But I have a memory of me being 5 years old, thinking of owning 5 different companies.
Wow.
And sitting behind a desk with a green wall.
Wow.
It's just, I don't know, you know,
Wow.
it's just, yes.
Things have worked out. All right, tell me about being a father. You're a father, you're a husband, you have a 4-year-old. Then there's something pretty special. When I asked you to come in on a Friday to record with me, you told me, yeah, any day but Friday. Was it Friday?
Yeah.
Because on Fridays, I spend that day with my daughter.
Correct.
What do you guys do?
Just stuff, you know, daddy, daughter stuff. We paint, we color, we ride the bike, we go to the marina, I go to the racetrack and I put her on the track with me. We just, I don't know, we chill at home. It's not like we have a set thing to do. We just do stuff, you know. I was doing a ceremony in Guatemala, Lake Atitlan. My daughter was at the age of 8 months old, and my wife sent me a picture that it says, let's raise kids that they don't have to heal from their childhood.
Yeah.
Obviously, she sent it in a perfect timing. I was like bawling as I received it. And I took the decision that, okay, from now on, every Friday is going to be for my daughter. So my wife is a stay-home mom, and Friday is kind of her day off, per se, right? And that is my day with my daughter. And so because I have a great team, honestly, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them. I run my team, they run the company, and because of that, I get to spend my Fridays with my daughter, and I call them Fridays of Familia.
Nice. And what's it mean to you? When you were a kid, did you think about being a father, think about being a husband? Was that a thing?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And what's that mean to you, that responsibility, that role?
It is an honor. It is an honor for me to be a dad. My longest, or my earliest memory of me thinking as a father is when someone gave me their baby, and I was 4 years old, and I had one of those out of body experience, because I remember it vividly, looking at myself from above, you know, and just grabbing the baby. I'm 4, and I'm grabbing the baby, and I say, when I become a dad, and I will say my higher self, just looking at myself from above, it told me, Gonzalo, you're 4, chill, like relax, you know, it will happen. You asked me what triggered me into the ayahuasca. My wife had a miscarriage on 2018, and that was the trigger, in a sense. I went and I healed it. I healed that process within the first ceremony. So for me, it was like wow. You can imagine, I was hooked right there, you know. And
how long were you suffering with that until you?
10 days.
Oh, you jumped right away.
Yes, 10 days. As a matter of fact, it was a Tuesday that I have to speak with a friend that I was going to tell me where to go, all the logistic in a sense. And my wife started bleeding. So I just sent a text and say, hey, listen, I'm not going to make it to the coffee. I'm taking my wife to the yard. That morning, my wife ended up having the miscarriage. And it was painful for me as a man to see my wife go through it. As a father, it's like I put the father on a side for a moment so I can be the husband for my wife and be for her and see her to go through that pain. For me, it was like the most painful part, and then, as a man, when you're alone, you go through your process, and then I texted back to my friend and say, listen, it just became from, I'm curious to, I need to do this. So we met on Thursday, and that was like a October 4th. My wife's birthday is October 13th. The ceremony was October 14th. And I said, can you put me in contact with these people? He called them right there in the spot. He said, Gonzalo, they have a spot. I said, okay, thank you. And I went, and, it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. I trained with the Navy SEALs. I did like a 10 hours SEAL day, carrying logs and, all this stuff. Believe me, I don't want to devaluate that experience, but physically, it's nothing compared to what the drain of energy that I went into my first ceremony with ayahuasca.
And how many hours was that?
There are only 4 hours.
And you're laying down, aren't you?
Yes, I'm just, sleeping.
And physically, it wore you out?
I couldn't even lift a spoon of soup, because then after that they feed you. I couldn't lift. I believe I only did two spoon of soup, and I just went to the cabin to sleep because I couldn't stand.
And it was all in your mind, right?
All the spirit and your soul. There was a lot of energy drain. Yes.
That's amazing. What's your involvement? Because you introduced at an event that we were at recently with Leo Pupic, you introduced an organization called SEAL Kids. I was able to make a donation and help out. Now, I got in touch with Hector, the director of the museum, and we're going to go spend a few hours with him, my wife and I. But what's been your involvement with those SEAL groups or like that group?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for making the donation. I really appreciate it, helping the cause. We're going to do a barbecue cocktail night in my house with 2 SEALs, and we're going to invite people. So you're invited.
Thank you.
From when I did that, they did like a training for civilians per se, and I did it. I think it was back in 2016. That's when I learned from them. Then I am part of different groups. So one is the local group, Leading Peers. I am part of a group of national level. It's called Warriors. And then I am part of a group of international level is called PPE with Jay Abrams. I don't know if you heard. No. Okay, marketing guru. Through them, they introduced us to the SEAL Kids Foundation. And because I have a huge respect and admiration for the people who serve this country. I became a U.S. citizen in 2010, and I feel as Argentinian as I feel American. This country gave me, introduced me my wife. I met my wife here. My biggest pillar in life is my family. And then he opened the doors. Look, this is the land of opportunities. This is the land where you can make your dreams true, right? So I always wanted to get back in some way or another. And also I have this very soft spot for kids. One of my biggest formulas to dream or to envision my future is that when I am in vision mode or dream mode, I connect with my inner child. When I decide what's the dream, I let the man know what is it. So I'm very connected with my inner child, and because I don't know, there is a part of me, right? So it was the two combined. It was helping kids that they are the kids of these men that they put their life in the line. So it was like, man, this is the right combination for me. And I felt called to help out. And that's why I did what I did on Leading Peers, but we also doing some other stuff.
Fantastic. After this, I have a call with Dr.
Gretchen. Yes.
Yeah, she scheduled a call with me, so yes. I can see how else I can
I spoke just before coming here, and she told me about it.
Oh, good.
You have the call later today.
Thanks for making that connection. Yeah, it's a great organization. I like. I've been fortunate that I got to build a relationship with a very well-known SEAL, Jocko Willink, because in the 14 businesses that I bought, one was Jocko was an apparel company, and it came with Jocko.com. And I bought that. Wow. And then I basically gave it to Jocko. Well, here's the conditions. I want to spend a day with you in San Diego. I'll get over there and train with you physically and also hang out. But I'd also like you to coach me. So I'd like to have 2 phone calls. But if you like me, then we continue. And we've done more than 2. And he said, continue. So he said, reach out. So I have access like that. And, and the other one was, and I want $1. He never gave me the $1. So every time I see him, I go, you still owe me $1. But it's been amazing because I got to meet him a few times now, and Leif Babin, who he works with. And they're great guys. And the organization, SEAL Kids, which I don't think has anything to do with Jocko specifically, but it's to help these Navy SEAL. Oh, yes. Okay, good. Well, he was a SEAL. So helping kids and families of Navy SEAL families who are of Navy SEAL men who are out there fighting,
yes, and
their family needs some support.
Yes. That's I don't know. I felt amazing just by, being able to somehow give back, to this country. I have done a lot of stuff. I support organizations, orphanage in 2020 when everything was going down. I had a friend who, through his restaurants, he was supporting an orphanage of 80 kids in Kenya. And the restaurant industry went down, so he was about to close. He was closing all the restaurants, so he couldn't support his foundation. And I jump in and say, okay, listen, I'll give you a layaway from 3 months. And I didn't even know how to do it because I didn't even have the money. Thank God we sold both for those months. That it was about the amount of money. Wow. So things work out in the
magic.
I mean, oh my God, you just have to trust, yeah. But I also been a big brother with the organization Big Brother Big Sister. Simon is my little brother. He's 14. We've been together since he was 8. Wow. So yes, we
it's a great organization.
Yes,
I did it when I was 19, but I didn't have the maturity. So I did it for a short time. It was great, but I've lost contact. There's no internet back then. But I wish I would have learned more. I would have maintained in contact and known enough to see how I could have guided that kid farther. So last thing I want to talk about is, I hear, you and I weren't not born in this country. You and I came here and started from zero. And I harder for you because I was little. I became a citizen at 24 years old, but I came here as a little kid, but grew up in Oakland, California, not, that area, not, we were below the poverty level. And I've been able to have some success, and I have some ideas of why I was able to have success. Okay, now let's put that aside. I hear all the time from people born in this country with this language, knowing the customs, their parents speak the language. I mean, all the advantages, because I couldn't do homework with my parents, only math. Everything else, they'd say, I don't understand. So I had to figure out everything on my own. Never got signed up for baseball or little league, soccer, or karate, because my parents never knew. They didn't have the money, and they'd always say, we don't know how to do any of that. So I just never got to do anything. Yet, I'm so, like you, grateful for this country and all the opportunities. But I hear people complain about it's too difficult. You can't start a business. How do you get ahead? And they're born here with all of the opportunities. Can you give me your perspective on maybe how they could see it a little bit differently from guys like you?
So what's the message for? For whom?
Somebody who's saying, I can't get ahead. I clean boats at a marina, and that's just my job. And I can't imagine. I can't. And he's 25 years old. He speaks English. His parents are American. He's here, but I don't know how to get ahead. How could I ever do what Gonzalo's doing? How could I own marinas and all these companies? I'm just made to clean boats.
If that's what you believe, that will be. That is the first thing. You have to believe that you are cut out for more. You have to believe in your heart. I will tell you, you are in the best place on earth to make things happen. You just know my story. There are so many, countless stories, of people that they come, different backgrounds, different things. Look at my neighbor plays soccer with a guy from Argentina who came with $300. He just sold his company for $1.1 billion. So he's like, I'm a small little fish compared to that guy, So there are countless stories about people that came here. So it's like, my question is, how bad you want it? And how much, you have to decide what's the price in it. And at the beginning, either you have money or you have time. If you don't have money, pretty much it will be that you have time. So just put in the time to work, put in the time to work on many things. One, in whatever it is that you're doing, but second is on what is that you're doing towards the next version of yourself. I wake up every morning at 4:00, every morning. And people ask me, Gonzalo, you say that you don't work on the day-to-day. It's like, what is that you do? And my answer, it came to me from my meditation. I said, I'm working on the future version of myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm not working on what I'm doing now. I woke up and I'm working on what I'm about to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And honestly, this is the country where, because we have so many entrepreneurs and we have so many successful stories, I can tell you, the right people, they will guide you. They will tell you, they will share their experiences. I used to have a client, he was worth like $700 million. I will personally clean his boat. He will come, and when his boat was here, but he will live in, he was living in South Carolina, North Carolina. When he was in Miami, he will call me 8:05 in the morning, every day. He say, Gonzalo, where are you? Working. Your coffee is getting cold. He will serve me the coffee. He wouldn't even allow me to clean the cup after. And he will share his stories with me. He will take me to lunch. Those minds, they open my mind into what's possible. Because this guy who was an Italian guy came and he was the lord of fiber optics. $700 million. So again, it's just like I get fired up, as you can see, about just speaking about. It's just put in the work, forget about the shiny things that everybody is showing, because nobody shows in Instagram what you're going through. They pretty much show, the flight, the car, the trip, the vacation, the new motorcycle, but nobody's showing you what they're going through behind curtains. So I will tell you, just forget about all that. Focus on yourself. Usually the people who doesn't have going on anything on their life is the one who are paying attention to what others are doing in their life. So focus on yourself, and always ask you, when I'm about to grow, I'm always usually asking these 3 or 4 questions. The first one's, where I want to be, right? That's the first question. Where I want to be, where I am today, where I want to be. What are the tools that I need to acquire that I don't have? Maybe read a book, go to an event, speak with someone, listen to a podcast, right? But what is that I need to do? What are the tools that I need to acquire? What are the tools that I have that serve me to get there? And maybe what are the tools that they no longer serve me that I can put to rest? Because what you brought you here, if you keep doing the same thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will take you there.
Yeah. And those tools could be habits too. You got to drop some
Yes.
bad habits. You got to create new habits.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we will have to have you back here because you could keep evolving and you keep growing. And there's still some stories. I got notes that we're not going to be able to cover today. So we have to have you back
Anytime.
another day so we can keep learning from you. What you've shared is magical. I spoke to you for just a few minutes one day. And I think it was that one time I said, I
Yes.
want to have you on my podcast because I only needed to hear some keywords because you could tell when a person's driven, they've built success, and they got that fire. And that really interests me, and I respect you a great deal. I look forward to getting to know you even more, Gonzalo.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having me here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you.